Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody from all around the world, hello and welcome to another episode of The Welch Report with me, your host, Jean-Luc Welch. Let's make some noise. Clap it up. It's Friday. Everybody, it's time for your voice to shine on this show as we are in the championship rounds for the entirety of today's episode. You control the conversation. You control the flow of the show. Your voice is the biggest determining factor in everything that we do. All the topics that we discuss, your questions, your comments, your debates, your concerns, everything involving you as essentially the producer of this show. We want to hear from you as all your questions and comments on the world of sports and beyond. We got a jam-packed show, even if you don't have anything to ask, that we're going to be covering on today. Like with the question on Inoue that we said we were going to talk about earlier. Yesterday, we're going to go into that question today. Is Inoue over the hill and out of his prime officially in a lot of people's minds? I want to hear from you whether or not you think that that's the case, or if, in my opinion, the best boxer in the world still reigns at the peak of his powers in the framework of talent. No question about it. Also, real quick, let me just make sure my camera is nice and straight. But on top of that, we're also going to be covering the world of still with Teofimo Lopez and Rolly Romero going against each other for the WBA title. Again, until the fight happens, we're going to always have something to say about it. The fights that you want to see both of them in after this, more specifically, how far along or how far will each person's reign be if they win? Looking at the landscape of 147 at this point in time, do you think that Rolly can actually be a reigning champion? Dare I say, could he be the last man standing in a potential clash for undisputed if he goes on to his belt for long enough? Hey, I want to hear from you in all regards of your conversation. But look, we appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you listening. Hold on, we got people in the chat right now. Like with Robert Beard, what's going on with you? How you doing? Good to see you. Bro, looks like a Nah, hey, look, I ain't heard that before. Now, I'm going to say, I did just get a fresh cut, so hey, looking clean, looking nice, looking spiffy. I'll say that myself. So, I'm not gonna lie, that might have helped the look. If you had seen me a couple of like last week before I cut this goatee, it would have been a lot. It would have. It would have been maybe a 1-to-1. All I needed was myself a New York Yankees hat. I would have been. O'Shea Jackson Jr. might need to come reach out to me, because we might be related. Who knows what may be going on in my family tree? But all I know is that I'm excited to be with you all on today's episode. And please, all comments and all jokes and more, if you want to tune into the conversation, put it in the chat. We want to hear from you. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Go ahead and join the empire. Be a part of the hottest show in all of the globe right here on YouTube and on every podcasting platform imaginable. Rate us 5 stars there. Listen to us on the go in your job, wherever you may be, on Apple, Spotify, you name it, we are there. And please, if you would be so kind, I was leave a like on the video, comment, hit the notification bell. That's what I was trying to say. So whenever we post right here on YouTube, if you can't support this channel, because we're like PBS, we're funded by viewers like you. If you can't support this channel with anything monetarily, we got Cash App, PayPal, links down below in the description, as well as super chats, super gifts, stickers, and the like, jewels, rubies, diamonds, whatever the word they got as a currency here on YouTube. You can give to this show and help us to pay the bills, because Lord knows they high, and also help us to go through and edify this show, make it better for you all to witness and enjoy as you're watching or listening all around the globe. And please, if you do nothing else while you're watching this show, just go through and share the show with everybody that you know, so we can keep on building up this empire together and growing as a community with you at the helm as a driving force in our growth and our road to success. Hopefully, we are aiming to try to hit 3,000 subscribers by the end of this year. And hey, you can do it. We can do it with your help and with your support. Telling people about what we got going on without question. But with all that self-promotion aside, we got a lot of show to cover. We're in a small amount of time to do. We want to hear your voices and opinions. We want to make sure you are entertained. So it's time to talk boxing. It's time to talk sports. It's time to have your voice be a part of this show. And it's time for the championship round. So without further ado, let's go ahead and step into the ring. Yes, sir. Come on, ring the bell. Let's get it started. Round one going underway in the championship rounds of our show on Friday today. And there's a whole bunch of stuff we can cover and we can touch on for topics of discussion. We can touch on Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, which in fact, because that's more of a lighter appetizer into the main course of Inoue that we're ultimately going to be aiming to discuss continuing from yesterday, we're going to delve into that real quick as the first opening act of this show. And that is, if you did not hear the word, AJ versus Fury might not be happening. That's now granted. Hey. Yeah, Jim Ross is very stressed out, so am I. And granted, I'll say this, slight clickbait, because I should actually add not a question mark, not just a outright de facto point of emphasis on the fight being confirmed to not happen. It is still in the works for the biggest fight in UK history to take place. Now there's been a whole bunch of turmoil with where it's going to be. Is it going to be in Wembley Stadium, 90,000 seats, or is it going to be in MSG in a 20,000 seat stadium here in New York City in the USA? We were all saying it should be in the UK. The fans deserve it. Everybody knows that's where the market is. That is the biggest opportunity to make the most eyes for the biggest event in that country's history in terms of the boxing event take place. However, Netflix owning the rights to stream this thing has put a sullied anchor on this whole momentum to make this fight go on. And now the fighting with where it's going to be, with Netflix wanting to make sure the people in the US can see it, the UK wanted to have it so they can root for their two biggest names in the place where they made their name. Now it's looking like it's coming to a head, and it looks like on the surface, per recent reports, especially per the likes of Eddie Hearn, it's going to be that this fight is going to end up in the USA. And I hate it. I hate it with a passion. I hate it the Kingdom Come. And again, this is in light of the fight itself. Sure, we can break down who's going to win, who's got the better opportunity. Absolutely. The bigger thing in this specific instance is the where. Location, as we always say, or as is always a common phrase in the world of architecture and just outright business acumen. Location is the biggest way to make an event or anything seem grand. You do a marriage proposal on top of the Rocky Mountains. Next thing you know, the scenic views, all of that stuff helps to set the atmosphere and implement a core memory that lasts a lifetime. The environment of life can dictate the memories of life, depending on where these things happen. And when it comes to the world of boxing, this is one of the most important substances that has made this sport live on for over 100 plus years. It ain't just because the fights are, the fighters themselves are indeed incredible, which they are. It's where this stuff took place. Thriller in Manila with Ali and, I believe it was Ali and, I'm sorry, not Thriller in Manila. Malice in the Palace in the Palace over here in the U.S. And for the NBA, boom, that Detroit Pacers, they clash, moment everybody never forgets, boom, sets the standard, sets a marker for the notoriety of the NBA for that era in the early 2000s, with Ben Wallace, Reggie Miller, all that stuff. In the boxing world, Thriller in Manila, when you, and also when you had, honestly, any fight, that's about when we had Ali fighting, because he was also the event. But locations have set the stage for a bunch of stuff. Las Vegas has become a breeding ground for some of the biggest fights in the world, but it made sense to have it there. It made sense. No question about it. We are looking at scenarios. We can't take this stuff for granted when it comes to having a fight where it should be, because it adds to the legacy of the fight itself, even though it's a background character in the sense of the story of the two fighters at play. That's what's going on right now with Netflix. They're trying to fight for the rights for where the environment's going to be. They're making a mistake trying to put this in the U.S. because it is going to be better for people that want to watch in the States. Sure, but it's going to tank the memorability of the moment that helps to carry other fights beyond just the fight itself was cool. The moment itself transcends and sets the stage for other people to want to try to follow in that same moment's footsteps. We don't want to take away that. And right now, that's what's going on. And because of that, this fight's potentially in jeopardy of not happening at all. Because when we're looking at the landscape of this whole event, Eddie Hearn has now made a whole bunch of demands that could potentially have Anthony Joshua pulling out the fight. Yeah, I'm serious. And Eddie Hearn has made a whole bunch of demands in light of these actions that if they are not met, AJ, he's not gonna be fighting. And if you don't believe me, also before I even continue, we got more people in the chat. Look at Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi, how you doing? Good to see you. Thank you so much for tuning into the show with us today. Thank you for joining in on our live stream. We're talking the world of boxing. We're still in the championship rounds. We want to hear from you in all regards of the world of sports and beyond. Right now, we're discussing Anthony Joshua potentially pulling out of the fight with Tyson Fury that's supposed to happen later this year. And Eddie Hearn has some stern words as to why that would be the case as we get ready to transition over into picture-in-picture so you can get the full scope of what he had to say, because this butt is hot and understandably so that this fight is not happening in the U.S. So if he's going to be in the U.K., he's going to have a whole lot of stuff to say involved to it. So I'm going to go and play the clip right now so you can see exactly what he had to feel and what he wanted to feel about this whole situation and what can potentially be the ending of this potential tragedy of a fight that never was, if it goes into that far. But let me play the clip so you can see what he had to say. Well, let's make sure you all can see it. Y'all can see it? Okay, y'all can see it. Let's play it now.
How many people go into a stadium? It's about the fight, the ecosystem, the market, the people that will benefit from this fight. Shops, hotels, boxing clubs, equipment wear, like British boxing, shows, everything. What we're basically saying is we're not capable. We're not big enough. We're not worthy enough of this fight between two fucking Brits. That's what you're saying. We ain't good enough. We're not the entertainment capital of the world.
Why are you going to to it, Edward?
Because I've got everybody that wants to do it. Tyson Fury signed. Everybody's signed.
It's Joshua's money, right?
Because that's what we're saying. So what we're saying is we're putting stuff in place that might not be agreeable to them.
Make it that big, then.
That's it. You know, like I'm saying, we're in the middle trying to be partners with Turkey. And the whole reason I'm coming out and doing this, because I ain't standing for the bullshit. And I don't give a fuck who this interview upsets. That's the reality of the situation. Because I'm big enough and I've got enough dough to not be mugged off by people who are fucking cretins. That's the reality of the situation. And I have the ability to come on here and set things straight instantly, because that's what I do. Not, call a meeting between, the communications and media board and have a fucking prompt of what to say, right, in front of me or in my ear when I'm saying it, or notes of what to say. I just give it to you straight. We signed this fight to take place in the UK. We signed a contract. We don't deviate from contracts, ever. All we're asking is that you honour this contract. So don't try and dress up some bullshit. Oh, they're asking to get paid for the darts and snooker event that we owe them money for. Yeah, that'd be fucking nice, to be honest with you. But that is not involved in the addendum of the changes that need to take place. Fact. And on that note,
No, you can't.
I've got to go.
I've got two questions quickly.
Hurry up.
Quickly.
Raleigh Romero.
So, again, it's a whole lot of mess. And for those of you that may not know the backdrop of exactly why this is such a pressing issue, seems like the fight got taken out from under the nose of Eddie Hearn, as Dana White has become now a big-time player in this whole in this whole accord of action taking place. And essentially what this has led to is Dana White's influence, coupled with Netflix wanting to have the fight in the U.S., has now pushed this fight into happening over in the U.S. We also got a clip of Tyson Fury that wanted to have something to say about this whole event. But essentially, Eddie Hearn doesn't want to get out of his contract. They said his fight was going to be in the UK, in Wembley Stadium, where it makes sense. And all of a sudden, things are shifting and changing. There's a whole bunch of stuff that ain't cool on their side. So they're making all this racket, all this noise, because, hey, that's what it shouldn't be. All of that is to say, there's a genuine concern that this fight could be done away with. And this fight is not happening. All because of the location of the fight is completely against what should be the reality, at least in Eddie Hearn's eyes, in my eyes as well. And there's a whole lot of other business drama, a whole lot of other factual stuff that I'm still trying to make sure I got stayed together because it's a little bit convoluted. All I know is that right now we're in danger of what's supposed to be the biggest fight in UK boxing history. At least for one of the two biggest stars that are fighting at the same time. That it's been rare that we've had this type of stardom with two people that have led a division in the same era when they were both existing at the same time. Now we're getting ready to take place. Even though it's better late than never, it still would be insanely huge. If they let this go and slip through his fingers, specifically, and this isn't me picking sides, this is me speaking from what I understand about the situation. If Netflix and Dana White are the cause, because of them not wanting to have this fight over in the US, or not wanting to have this fight over in the UK, if they are the cause of this fight not taking place, Eddie Hearn will back out. And if Eddie Hearn does back out, I can guarantee you this is the last time we will ever be able to talk about this fight happening. Because after that, it'll be a no-show. It'll be done. It'll be finito. We will never get a chance to have this fight happen again. I want you to be very clear. We will never get a chance to have this fight happen again. If it doesn't happen now, it is outright now or never. There is no tomorrow. There is no second chance. There is no kick it down the road. Tyson Fury is legit going to retire if this fight doesn't happen. I mean this for real this time. And this fight, and after this fight, this will most likely be his last fight in the world of boxing. Because this is the literal last chapter on a story that's made sense for both of them in their career. This is it. This is it. There's no going back. If this fails, we'll see AJ try to go and get another title in one last title run. But after that, Usyk will fight Wilder. Usyk will be gone. Tyson Fury won't want to fight again because he's not fighting Usyk again, almost assuredly, and ain't fighting Moses Tama, and ain't going after any of the other titleists that are holding belts right now, like Fabio Wardley, like Caballero. None of them. So none of those fights are happening. And when AJ inevitably does lose, because that guy know, even though I hope he does win, inevitably he will lose again because of his current standing and skill set in boxing right now. The next loss for AJ is probably the last loss of his career. Probably. Not set in stone, but most likely. We should be looking and gearing up for this, but it might be done. We're all thinking the same thing. Something's getting ready to shift where it's either popping the clutch now or never pop the clutch at all. And it can get ruined just like that. And right now it's on the verge. It really is. But let me read your thoughts and opinions on the matter before we continue going through. Like what Boxing Bro. How you doing? Good to see you. Excuse me, hold on a second. Let me make sure I got my sound right. How you doing? Good to see you. We thank you for tuning into the show with us today. Thank you for joining in and being a part of our live stream on the Welch Report. Without a doubt, let me see what you had to say on the day. Fury AJ, not interested, too late. Honestly, and that's the other side of the coin. We again, speaking for me and the people around us in the U.S., I would be interested in watching that fight. I want to see the story end in that regard, but I am not in the same dominating voice that's been waiting on this fight like with the UK fans. And that's what the majority of the United States is feeling. We care about Boots. We care about Shakur. We care about Devin Haney and those of the like over here in America. I'm not saying that's all we support. I'm just saying those are our now. We got our own fights that we trying to say we're more excited for. Devin Haney versus Shakur. Devin Haney versus Keyshawn Davis. Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia. And that's just with Devin Haney alone. Shakur versus Keyshawn. Shakur versus anybody. Keyshawn versus anybody at this point because of the fact that we're saying you duck, smoke, left, right, and center. Boots. We got him on our minds as an American focus. And not just because they're from America, just strictly because they are captivating our minds in the United States. We do not care nearly as much about what's going on in the UK with the likes of AJ and Joshua because it is too many years too late. We don't have that same level of intensity of needing to see this fight, but the UK does. And the very fact that this is going to be a situation where this fight may not happen there is why Eddie Hearn is so upset. It's why I'm upset. Because I want this fight to take place where it should take place. Because even though it's now or never, it can still create a moment that can push British boxing and boxing as a whole forward into having everybody say, I want to reach that caliber of frenzied state that the UK went in when they finally got their mega fight that they've been asking for over a decade. We don't want to lose out on that potential opportunity just because we're trying to cater to an audience in the United States that does not care about this fight nearly as much. But that's what we're running into. That is the danger of our potential situation. And even if it does happen over here in the UK, or excuse me, even if it does happen over here in the US, you're not going to hear nearly as much buzz about it. Not nearly. It'll be a big event. Be clear. It will be a huge event. It just won't captivate us. The American audience really won't. And you will be hard pressed to not think that people in the UK, even though it's later than they wanted, would not pay for a Netflix subscription simply to go and see that fight wherever they may be, with a 90,000 seat stadium also guaranteed to most likely break records if that fight was signed to happen over there instead of 20,000 seats over here in the US. Which, again, this is not saying that the US stadiums are oh so small, oh my gosh, but that environment of Wembley perfectly fits the grandeur of what that fight means for them. And it fits the capacity that everybody, myself included, is expecting to show up on that fight. There's no need to not have this happen. There's no need for this to be such a frustrating sentiment. But right now that's where we're at. And it can potentially rob us of what should happen. Absolutely. Let me see. Joshua is the greatest, is greatest than Usyk in the heavyweight. No, I can't say that. Hold on now. I can't say that. Hold on. Wait a minute. No, he ain't. I love Anthony Joshua. He's not greater than Usyk. I love him. I really do. And I wanted to get back to a championship. Lord. I don't think he's the best. At least not to me. Let me see. They level now. Not good. Stop by. It's better. I mean, if you're talking about AJ and Usyk after the fight with Rico was a one-off situation. Hopefully, that is not the consistent thing. But again, maybe the drop-off just did happen. We'll find out in the future. No, I can guarantee you that. But I promise you, greatness-wise, there is no equal. At least not to me. There's no equal. We want to see Jared Anderson, Bakoli, Ruiz, Atama, Caballero. Now, Fury fighting them? Maybe. All of them fighting each other? Sure. Although Caballero and Atama are completely separate from the rest of the world, let's also make that very clear. There's not an even playing field between those two and Bakoli, Anderson, Ruiz as the others. It'll be fun to see them fight against each other, but right now, Caballero and Atama, they're more in the championship environment than anybody else in this list of competition, which they deserve. Granted, we'll say that. Also, let me see. Legendary Super Saiyan Jackson, how you doing? Good to see you. We appreciate you on the show. Thank you for showing up and showing out on our live stream today. And we hope you're having a phenomenal time. Hopefully you are already liking the stream and sharing the show and telling everybody telling everybody that you know about what we got going on right here on the Welch Report. Joshua greater than Usyk at heavyweight is being silly. And again, to keep in line with this topic, I'm not disrespecting Anthony Joshua by saying that Usyk is greater. We are saying that Anthony Joshua has been a pillar of consistent effort in this division. He did reign. He was the best. He was the king, the darling of this division. Let's be perfectly honest. When Anthony Joshua was at the best of his career, he was one of the four faces of the sport because heavyweight finally had a name that transcended the whole of just the division and went into the other elements of the world of boxing. I had people in college that didn't even follow boxing that knew who the world Anthony Joshua was. Now, granted, it's because that brother looked like a Greek god and he was just a chiseled Adonis, and everybody was like, oh, shoot, everybody, I don't know who this guy is, but he looks like a superhero. But the action, when they see the highlights, okay, it makes sense. Yeah, he's a demolition derby. He's a demonstrative puncher. He's an Olympic gold medalist. He has everything you would want. He was the division at one point in time. For real. Beat Klitschko in Klitschko's last fight, took the crown after getting knocked down, went and had a knockout streak. What was it, 16? What was it? I forget how long the streak was, but an incredible streak when he was at, running through everybody, just knocking people out left, right, and center, reigning as champion, taking out White Povetkin, who was on PEDs, and all this stuff. It was an incredible run, and he did earn the right to be, not even arguably, I think top 10 pound for pound when he was truly at the reigning run of his division. I don't think that's a question. Time just waits for no man. And time right now for AJ is potentially wrapping up quickly. That is why this fight has to happen, because we don't want time to rob us of what can potentially be. If he does put it together one last time, he does it in the biggest fight that would be in his current situation, which is good, which is great to me. I mean, that's what I want to see. I'm just I'm just really in the makeup of his career. The downtrend of the last couple years doesn't signify what his entire career was, because he was indeed great. He was. I just want to see him be great one more time if he can against the likes of Fury, if we can actually make that fight happen. Let me see. Beach Skull, how you doing? Good to see you. We thank you for showing up and tuning in to this show. Again, please leave a like on the stream. Keep on commenting and sharing the show. We are still in the championship rounds. If you did not know, we want to hear your thoughts and opinions on everything involving the world of boxing and beyond. And we're right now covering Anthony Joshua and Fury, and that fight potentially being on the fritz of not taking place. I believe the location is the issue with Fury and Joshua. It absolutely is. That's what we cover. That's why Eddie Hearn is so upset. That's why AJ will get pulled out if, in fact, this fight isn't getting moved, or the demands, I think, what was it, extra money or something like that, isn't done for the fact that this fight isn't happening in the UK. There's a whole bunch of drama behind this, and there's a lot of greed. I'll say that. This is one of the biggest situations of greed in the business world, going and stopping a fight from taking place, in part by Netflix and Dana White, who I believe is actually involved in this. Somehow, some way. I don't understand how. I just know he is. This is a whole lot of greed, a whole lot of animosity, and a whole lot of cross-communication that is missing information that is, at least from the outside looking in, that somebody's getting backdoored and somebody ain't keeping up with what they're supposed to do. It's getting called out. Right now, that might be in jeopardy of this fight not happening at all. It's a shame, but that's what can take place. But you're right, location is the biggest issue with this fight right now. And I would hope it's not, but it could be. Let me see. AJ brought back boxing in the UK and really set the UK scene ablaze when he was in his prime. And that's true. That's absolutely true. There was a point in time when the heavyweight division was looking for a new face to run the place, not just for the UK, but in general. Fury beating Klitschko was going to be that face. After Fury beat Klitschko, when Klitschko was an unstoppable force for over 10 years. Then Fury, after the loss, had to fight depression, had to go and drop the belt, and had to get away from the sport. AJ comes in, AJ keeps on winning, AJ becomes that face and becomes, in part, one of the most recognizable names and entities in the entire sport. It was beautiful. It was great. And it was, at one point in time, okay, the division's back. It's hot. You got Wilder, who was coming up and turning into something demonstrative. You had AJ, who was the literal golden goose of the heavyweight division, and then they would look like they were going to clash. If the only thing that has been wishful thinking for Anthony Joshua's career is the Deontay Wilder fight that we wish happened in his prime, and the Tyson Fury fight that we wish happened in his prime, but at minimum happened at all. We'll find out if it happens at all. I'm just telling you, it's when they were reigning, specifically when AJ was leading, the division was building up steam yet again. Sure, I'm not saying it was uber deep, but we had a main character and side characters that were integral to telling the story of why should we care about this division, which was good, which was really good. And he single-handedly helped to sustain the impact and notoriety of the heavyweight division. He was personable, nice, but a killer in the ring, doing commercials and all that stuff, being able to be kind of the literal and all around fighter and an all around media persona. Could make you laugh. Everybody liked him. He was cool with the media. He was cool with the fans. He had everybody's respect, and everybody wanted to see what he was going to do. If he never lost to Andy Ruiz, what his career could have been, because he would have had a U.S. audience see him in the States, and all of a sudden we would have said, oh my gosh, oh wow, ridiculous. That would have skyrocketed that propeller of notoriety even more immensely, and potentially gotten to a point where we would have forced those fights sooner to be needed to happen with the fights that we said we wanted to see, like with Fury and Wilder. But again, that's just wishful thinking. I'm just telling you, he deserves all the respect and credit, but I just hope we do not see this fight potentially not happen. That's all. I really hope that if we don't, it's gonna be frustrating. It's gonna be really, really frustrating. I'm trying to make sure I catch him. Where is it? Jerome Holmes, how you doing? Good to see you. We thank you for showing up and tuning in to our show. Salute to you and everybody else in the chat as we are again still in the championship rounds of this show. But you say boxing is on its way out. See, here we go again. I think we said we want to discuss this. Boxing being on its way out. I don't understand how boxing is, if we want to be completely honest, the sport that looks like it's really losing some steam is the UFC more than the world of boxing as we know it now. It's lost some steam from what we had from 2023 to 2025 without question. But up until this year, we have been a rolling ball of thunder, getting fights, getting big events, getting opportunities, and getting all the stuff that we have been saying we were lacking in the sport of boxing for years. Turkey Out Sheik is a big part of it because he was throwing money left, right, and center. The zone getting everybody also helped. But it was and is a whole lot better than what it used to be. I don't think boxing's on its way out. I don't think it won't ever be on its way out because we'll always have somebody that is able to sustain the division in some way, shape, or form. So I don't think it's ever going to be on its way out. I don't think so, especially with the amount of stars that we got now. It's just, again, if we ain't gotten into any of the Shakur fights with Devin Haney, or if we ain't gotten any of the Devin Haney fights with Shakur Stevenson or Keyshawn Davis, we wouldn't be having this conversation at all. Because, like I said, on the backs of Junto versus Inoue, and what we see down the line is Inoue versus Bam, Benavidez going to cruiserweight and all this stuff, we have plenty of action. So I don't think it's on its way. I think we're doing way better than we may expect. Just widen your approach from just the immediate, and you'll see we haven't had a bad year. Ain't been the best, but it showing up isn't signifying that we just done with the sport. But let me see. We got a lot of people chatting with a lot of questions and concerns. Let me see. I would say Joshua's impact on the heavyweight division is greater than Usyk. Now, you know what? I get what you're saying. I think I'm gonna interpret this from what I think this is saying. I may be wrong. But you're right in a certain respect. Usyk is outright a better fighter and a greater fighter all time than Anthony Joshua. But for the heavyweight division as a whole, Anthony Joshua had a bigger impact in shifting the conversation of the heavyweight landscape, getting it back to relevancy. Usyk, from the relevancy that came from them, moved up, and then reevaluated, or rather readjusted the heavyweight division. That's the story of this whole situation. For real. That's the best way I can put it. And let me explain. Anthony Joshua, when he was on top, made everybody care about the heavyweight division. No question about it. One of the biggest stars, one of the biggest faces, and from a level of looking for somebody to go and be the man amongst the biggest of men, he was able to get to that position and hold that crown and hold the attention of the boxing world at a division that had lost a lot of luster from the boredom that people were saying Klitschko was having because he was just reigning so much and the competition, there was nobody else to fight. Then boom. The looks, the stardom, the fighting style, the knockouts, everybody gravitated, and he brought the division back to a level of relevancy and was able to sustain it as the torchbearer. From that, Usyk came along and then recalibrated what the division has to be. Because AJ was well-rounded, absolutely, but it was still a big man's division. Usyk came in and said, you don't need to be bigger than everybody else to be the baddest man on the planet. You need to be better than everybody else to be the baddest man on the planet. And as the smallest man of the contenders in the division, he went and cleaned everybody out that was 270 or above, that was in number 1, number 2, number 3 ranked or above, became unified, rematched the best in the division twice with AJ and Fury after taking their belt and beat them all, while also beating younger talent. And he recalibrated what a heavyweight should be in today's era, because it had been bigger is always better for a number of years. Even with Tyson Fury being an anomaly, he was 6'7". Nobody that's that short, or that's shorter than that, people were saying they couldn't even sniff being able to get to him. Now, it's a whole different game. Caballero, viable. Atama, 6'3", 6'2", however tall he is, viable and dangerous. Multi-dimensional from a one-dimensional division that was, at that point in time, size was the only thing that matters. So I can understand where you're coming from. Joshua changed the attention of the heavyweight division and brought it back to a prominence. Usyk changed the caliber of the heavyweight division and showed you don't need to be big to be the best. And in part in doing that, became a greater heavyweight all time. But AJ was the shock to the system that without AJ, this division, what it turned into, wouldn't have been what we saw it as. And we're still not saying that it was, the 90s, or that it was, the 70s when Ali and Frazier and Foreman and all of them were fighting. We're not saying it was that. But we're saying it brought it back to a prominence that he had lost for a long time, at least in a lot of people's eyes, where they didn't care. So I can understand from that perspective where you're coming from in that conversation. But let me keep on reading the rest of your chats. We have a lot of people still talking and discussing. Let me hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on. If AJ and Fury is on the same night on different networks, is Usyk versus Wilder fight? If AJ and Fury is on the same night on different networks as Usyk versus Wilder, which fight you watch? What I mean, I'm probably gonna be watching AJ Fury simply because that is the actual last chapter. I still don't think Wilder can beat Usyk. I've said before that fight shouldn't happen, but the fact that Rico did what Rico did and almost beat Usyk genuinely, nearly a clean sweep, it's gonna be tough. I mean, if we watch that live, I'm gonna tell you this right now. I don't know. I tried calling 2 fights at once, one time. Pacquiao Barrios, Bam versus I think Puma. Oh no, Kafu. Bam versus Kafu. Pacquiao versus Barrios. I called both of those fights on this live stream at the same time, trying to keep up round by round, punch by punch. It was a fun blast. I don't think I'm ever doing that again though, because I was trying to make sure I didn't get confused with who landed what round was what, who won what round, and trying to keep two scorecards up. Somehow I did it. Lord knows I ain't trying that again. Thank God we saw Bam knock out Kafu. Thank God you saw a knockout. If those 2 things went to a decision, I wouldn't know who won. Good, great day in the morning. That was ridiculous. But I'm probably watching AJ versus Fury, but over Usyk versus Wilder. Well, let me keep on reading your chats. We still want to make sure we catch everything that we can. Let me see. At least you said in the U.S., boxing in the USA does it to itself by perpetually having their top guys not fight each other. And that's true. Let's be completely honest about boxing in the U.S. Everywhere else it's got a real substantial ability. But in the framework of boxing in the States, we've lost a lot of luster. We keep getting some stuff happening with, Boots on the rise. Tank was our biggest kind of gravitating factor for where most Americans cared about Tank more than anything as a U.S. fighter. Devin Haney finally got the prominence. Ryan Garcia, one of the biggest stars in the world, not just in the U.S. We've had people. We really have had people. Shoo making a name for himself. Abdullah, young fighter people are actually caring about. People are actually keeping up with. But it's the fact that we are so much struggling with the ability to have them fight each other that we don't get to keep that sustaining power of care because they don't fight. The names that we care about, that we're saying we want to see what they can do against so-and-so, we don't ever see them fight against each other. And because of that, people lose focus. The blending of fan bases never happens. And hence, fans aren't able to gravitate to other fighters because they're never seeing their favorite fighter fight somebody else that potentially is on their same level. It's a frustrating identity, or it's a frustrating idea. That's what's happening every single time. And because of that inconsistency of star power and constant rhetoric of we're getting people that we want to fight against the other people that we want to see fight, it makes people just not care outside of their favorite fighter. They can't keep up with the sport because the sport never actually caters to keeping up with them and their desires and wants when it comes to the world of boxing. So everybody falters and everybody drops off. And outside of their specific fighter that they care about, the sport as a whole does not get followed in the same way. It's frustrating, but that's the reality of the situation. And until we fix that, we're going to keep having these start and stop momentums of the U.S. caring about the sport in a wider array rather than only caring about some of the biggest names, but not all of the names in the world of boxing. And once we fix that, we can have a better conversation. Let me see, to be fair, Canelo fights in America way more often than AJ has or still does, and that's true as well. That's true, but also his market is America and Mexico. He was fighting in Mexico over a number of years. He built his fan base up in Mexico and then came to the U.S. as, okay, you got a star. If you can make it here in the U.S. now you got both above and below You got fan bases abounding, and you're a big enough star because of your fan base in Mexico that the U.S. kept wanting to book him in fights in the States. To help with the fact that early on he was getting in fights with Floyd Mayweather, who was still in the zeitgeist of the boxing world. Even in defeat, he still helped his profile. So, a lot of those factors can help out in it. But let me keep on reading your chats and responses. Like with Love King. Love King, how you doing? Good to see you. We thank you so much for tuning in to this show and joining in on our live stream today. Hopefully you're having a phenomenal time. Hopefully you're enjoying the show, and hopefully you are still liking the stream and sharing the show with everybody that you know so we can keep on growing this community. Are you calling the fight tomorrow night? I want to say yes. I want to say yes up until further notice. Until further notice, yeah. I'm calling the fight with Rolly and Tia. If y'all want it, we're gonna make it happen. Y'all show up, we're gonna have a great time. But yeah, I'm almost fairly, yeah. I'm be calling that fight. I'm be calling, because it's gonna have some big implications. Because if Rolly wins, all of a sudden we have to ask an uncomfortable question about Rolly. And that is, but can this cat potentially become the last of the two fighters in a battle for undisputed? Oh yeah, and I'm gonna address that right after I go through some of these other chats I may have missed. But trust me, you don't want to hear what I got to say about that. I'm gonna see who is greater, Ali or Usyk, and what? If you asking me, Ali, that's not a question. That's not a question. I don't know who started that rhetoric. I don't know who started that rhetoric of Ali not being greater than Usyk, or Ali's legacy and skill getting diminished. I don't know who started that. I don't know where that took place. I don't know what happened. But whoever is putting out that, we need to stop it right now. Because that's a bold-faced lie. And this is especially true if we got people like Shakur disrespecting James Toney, or disrespecting Sugar Ray Robinson, or disrespecting other great fighters that have Marvin Hagler, for example, because of not knowing who they are. We got to make sure we keep history going, because we can't let those people all of a sudden be seen as blasé, because if that's blasé, what we have for the majority, not all, but for the majority of the current greats in boxing today is a laughingstock. If we're going to go by the legacies that each left behind based on the body of work. It's not the same. This isn't me trying to say, oh, the people today are bums. No, they're not. We're saying that what was done in the past is still the standard because of how high it was. Doesn't change the greatness that fighters are showing today. It's the fact that you still had to achieve certain things, because what was great then is still great now. And if we start looking at those older histories as, yeah, they aren't that impressive, well, that's just idiotic. And that's damaging. We can't be having that. We can't. And if we do, this sport's going to go in a bad space. Very quickly, it will go to a bad spot if we keep that going. We can't let that happen. We cannot let that happen. But let me keep on reading your chats and responses on the show. Where's that? Somebody had said something down here that I'm trying to find. Let me see. Boxing Pro, what's going on? I can't remember if I said hi already. If I didn't, how you doing? And hopefully you're having a phenomenal time joining us on our show. But you're going for Teofimo Lopez, and you're saying let's go to that regard. And hey, I'm with you. It's still fight week. We still talk about this fight as a whole. And you, again, told you before, I think Teo is going to win. But in the off chance that we see Rolly Romero win, that changes the conversation for undisputed in the world of boxing. Because at 154, or excuse me, at 147, it will be Rolly, Ryan, Devin Haney, and no, that's it, because Devin Haney got 2 belts. Yeah, it'll be Rolly, Ryan, Devin Haney as the last 3 in position to get undisputed around their waist if they all fight each other. And if it comes down to Ryan and Devin fighting each other to unify their belt, then after that, Rolly would literally be the last man standing in the world of welterweight in a reality I never thought I would see. Now, if he does that and becomes undisputed, I'm going to tell you this. Inside the ring was having conversations and asking Rolly, or Rolly was asking them, whether he would be a Hall of Famer or not if his career ended today. The answer, in my opinion, would be no. Absolutely would be no. But if he went through and became undisputed, beating either Ryan Garcia or Devin Haney, after already having a win over Ryan Garcia and having a career facing off against Tank and others, that, especially with Devin Haney now, that might put him just over the hump for some people to feel like, okay, maybe. It's an uncomfortable conversation, I understand. I'm just telling you, those uncomfortable conversations are going to happen if we see this cat beat T.O. and get to that last man standing spot in the world of heavyweight. I'm telling you, even if you don't want to see it, it's what can go down. It's insane, but that's what can happen. It's ridiculous, but that's what can take place, whether you want it or not. So be very be very cautious with that. But let me keep on reading your thoughts. Shakur is trolling. Marvin is from Jersey. Shakur knows who Marvin is. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. I'm telling you, he doesn't. I'm telling you, he doesn't. I'm telling you, he doesn't. That's not trolling. That isn't trolling because he said it about other heavyweights, about other fighters before. He studies Floyd, and he studies a lot of boxers of Floyd's era. But going back that far, he may know of the legends, but he doesn't know them and why they were great. Somebody had to tell Shakur what Marvin Hagler did, because he didn't know truly how much he was dominating. He didn't understand how much Hagler was dominating everybody. And he was like, why didn't y'all tell me this brother was cold like that? Genuinely. He said this same thing about Robinson. He said the same thing about other legends. Beyond them two. We're looking at a fighter who is a strange predicament with Shakur. Because Shakur Stevenson is a fighter who is so smart inside the ring. He is so adept at understanding the intricacies of the sweet science, without question. As a pure boxer, we've called him one of the 3 best in the world from a talent perspective. But with all of that ability, there's a lack of history to back up what he's doing in the ring from the standpoint of his knowledge of what other greats did as to why he's doing what he's doing. Some may say that's just innate ability. Cool. Others may feel that this is a brother who is a product of time. In my opinion, a little bit of both is true, but in all reality, I don't think he really values the greats of the past like we've had with other champions. I don't. And it's a part of the thing with youth that we see a lot of times when it comes to the word. And again, I'm young. I'm not saying I'm not separated from that conversation. I'm simply saying a part of boxers that are young, or athletes that are young, there's a lot of people that don't know about the history of the sport that they play. NBA is a perfect example. Perfect example. People like Adrian Dantley, Alex English, even Oscar Robertson. People don't know how cold they were. Dr. J, behind me, one of the smoothest operators in that way, and at the time that he retired, well, I think was top 3 in scoring in NBA history, was at one point in time the best player in the world and was the it guy for the entirety of the league that Jordan then went and took inspiration from to model his own game after. His words, not mine. And because of that, his legacy has always been so great. But even him, as a known entity of, oh, I didn't know he was that cold, we're hearing more often. Because the further we get separated, the further attachment to history that we see past a certain point, unless you go back and study. Shakur does not study those aspects of history. He knows the names, but he doesn't know the why. He knows the name, but the weight behind the name isn't nearly as gravitationally pulling because he doesn't attach the skill to the name. It's just like with Bill Russell. Everybody says Bill Russell's one of the 10 best players ever. Cool. And they hold the 11 championships. Absolutely. But most people today don't hold Bill Russell's name in the same weight as 30 years ago because of the fact that when 30 or 20 years ago, Bill Russell was getting taught and talked about, it was still fresh in the minds, the attachment of the skill to the player. And the weight became not just okay, throw him in out of respect. It was, you throw him in because, hey, he was one of the best. Defensively and as a leader and all that stuff. Yes, the game was different. We understand. I'm not denying that. I'm not saying the game hasn't evolved since then. I'm just strictly saying an example of why we see conversations change where people say, like we've seen in the NBA, we're done with the 90s. That doesn't hold weight to what we see today. Boxing, it doesn't work like that. Boxing, the weight of a fighter translates beyond era because they can still beat people beyond eras. Because what they were doing skill-wise was still great and sustaining even to this day. But for those that don't know anything or are not privy to try to study those historical figures, they don't understand what makes them great. And they just think we're just holding them in respect, out of respect, and not the other way around. That's dangerous. But that's the reality. That's the reality. And when we're looking at this whole situation with Shakur, he's a product of history because he's fighting like other historical figures, but he doesn't understand that this game that he's doing, others have also done. He's doing it phenomenally, but the weight of the legacy, the lineage, the prowess of the older fighters, he doesn't care because he doesn't attach them. He's not a student of the game. Mike Tyson was a student of the game. He's an encyclopedia of knowledge. He studied all the greats in order to become great. Jack Johnson, Joe Louis, Schmeling, Jack Dempsey, who's one of his favorite fighters, studied him while he was fighting. Duran, one of his most favorite fighters, studied him while he was fighting. We're not looking at a man who's just we're looking at a buddy who is not great. Again, they were at the same time, but he loved to watch him. I'm just simply saying, studying the other people that did the great stuff doesn't just give you appreciation, but it shows you there's still some stuff to learn. Shakur doesn't think that there's much he can learn from the past eras of boxing when he can, so he doesn't value him the same way. At least me looking at him, watching how he talks. That's just me though. But let me keep on reading your thoughts and opinions on the matter. Let me try to catch everybody that I can. Rolly drops to you in 5 or 6. You know what? That's fair. He might drop him. I don't think he's gonna knock him out, but he definitely can drop him. What is Zab Judah? Hold on. I'm trying to. Where did this question go? Oh, no, excuse me. That's a spat between the chats. My bad. That's like, I'm trying to figure out why the word Zab Judah was coming in to conversation. That is you, everybody going at everybody. Understandable. In the chat down below. That was his trainer, cuz that had Mike like that. He did. And understand, beat score, that's a great point. Mike's trainer, Customato, had Mike studying the greats. And because of that, Mike then started studying by himself, reading books, reading biographies, self-written biographies by other greats, watching film and tape, and going out of his way trying to meet heroes. If you feed history right to a mind that is hungry and show them why this is good food, they will want to eat more. But if you feed a mind, yes, with good substance, without history, the history will just seem like it's unnecessary. It exists and it's meaningful, but it's not meaningful to me. Even the Bible talks about train up a child in the way that he should go. And when he's old, he won't depart from it. If you teach the right stuff early on, it builds a foundation of not just substance, but of a hunger. Applying to a multiplicity of things. Shakur just wasn't brought up to grow to appreciate the history. Floyd Mayweather absolutely was the inspiration, but once he got beyond that, there wasn't a pressing issue to know these other greats that were also great before a certain extent. Deemed unnecessary. We talked about this before in the boxing world. We've said that when it comes to boxing, the boxing world has stripped away the sport to become the most efficient it can be. Hit and not get hit. The sweet science of boxing, doing things in a way where it is the most optimal. That's what we've done with boxing. I'm not saying that hasn't turned out into a great way, but also that stripped away aspects of the sport that are still useful, but because it's deemed that it's not the most optimal way to do things, it's gotten lost to time. Trainers are not able to teach it anymore. Fighters are not able to have that in their arsenal anymore. And when certain situations arise and you're then asking, well, why in the world are we not able to see you do this certain thing? They don't know how to do that certain thing because it's been a talent lost to time. It's a conundrum of efficiency over effectiveness, where the sport has been ripped to its most essential parts. In some ways that's good, but in most ways that it leaves out a certain aspect, a lot of aspects that could still be useful today in the boxing world because history is not being taught. Inoue studied a bunch of greats in the Mexican world of boxing. Julio Cesar Chavez and others, his father was forcing him to study all of their action, skills, tendencies, and abilities, and while he was working to learn how to be a boxer. Next thing you know, you see that translate into what I deem as the best boxer in the world today. You need that history. If you don't teach it, you get stagnant in some ways. And if you don't value it, you're never going to care. And right now, that's what's happening with Shakur. With Marvin Hagler or anybody for that matter. It's dumb, but that's what's happening. It is. It really is. Let me see. Daryl Anderson, how you doing? Good to see you. Salute to you, and thank you for tuning in on the show. And we appreciate you joining in on our live stream today. Hey, Charlie, did you hear about Hayden? Who is this? Hayden. Is it Hayden Pentari? I'm not recognizing the name, or I'm missing out on some news. Let me see what happened. Oh, no. Yes. Yeah. Okay. I had to see the face to recognize, to understand who we were discussing. I did hear about that. Now, granted, I'm still trying to figure out what happened. It's a tragedy that she died and passed away. The cause, I think they're still looking for. It's a shame, but I did hear about it. It's horrible. It's terrible. It is truly. Yeah, I mean, like, that hurt. Because some of my friends, I think she was a voice actor. She was an actor in a multiplicity of things. She was watching some characters from movies that I grew up watching. Like, I think A Bug's Life. What was it? Was it the girl? Was it the little ant girl from Bug's Life? That was like the daughter of the queen or something like that. I can't remember exactly what the role was. It was a significant role, but that she was there. She was that. I think she played in Hoodwinked. I think there was another like not big box office film, but it evolved into like a cult classic that we're starting to see come back now, with a lot of people finding it out. And it's yeah, that hurt. That hurt. I'm not gonna lie. That hurt real bad. And I still don't know exactly what happened. Was it a natural cause of death? Was it a potential foul play that came into fruition? The only thing I know is that somebody, the potential, I'm not gonna say suspect, but person of interest that people keep on pointing to is the on again, off again boyfriend that they had, that she was dating. Now, beyond that, I don't know exactly why or the reasons. I just know that potentially his name's getting brought up. I'm not gonna say whether it's true or not. I'm not gonna say what's happening because I still don't know. I'm not trying to be oblivious, but some stuff slipping beneath the cracks with some things I'm trying to do behind the scenes. But hopefully it's just a freak accident or just a natural cause. Because if it's foul play, oh gosh, I don't need this story to be more heartbreaking. Because that's tragic in every regard. It really is. It really is. Again, rest in peace to her because she was a phenomenal woman and actress and voice actor. And it's that one hurt. I'm not gonna lie. That hurt a lot. That one, rest in peace to her, without question, without a doubt. And people still can look back at her career and be like and understand. She was great. She was really great. Let me see. How often did you hear Floyd talk about the great? Well, you did. Early on you did. But more so, he brought up the greats to validate his own career. See, Floyd was a little bit different. Floyd brought up greats in order to validate, I'm better than them. He brought up Durant. He brought up Leonard. He brought up Ali all the time. But it was to validate, look, I did what these other people didn't do. I studied the greats and I know the greats, but it was to understand, I got an appreciation for the game. And again, he is also an encyclopedia of knowledge. It's true if you actually get to talk with him. But the emphasis was, it was normally always brought up to prop himself higher. Normally. Early on, it was, okay, I want to be great, like da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and all that stuff. Sure, but once it got to a certain point, it evolved into, I bring them up to bring me up and to bring them below me. Because he kept on trying to say, I've beat more world champions than Durant and Leonard. I've had more title reigns than Ali and all this stuff. I'm undefeated like Rocky Marciano. I've had a longer equivalency to Joe Louis and stuff like that. I've done all this stuff that all you other greats have said you wanted to do or did. I've eclipsed that. I'm better than y'all. They ain't done what I've done. So, we heard him talk about it a lot. It was just in a way, not in reverence or to bring up history, to acknowledge history. It was to acknowledge history to better his own standing in comparison to history. Some will call it disingenuous. I just call that Floyd Mayweather because that's what he did. Let me see. Any top fighters today saying they don't know Marvin Hagler is full of it. Look, I'm telling you, you would be surprised how many people don't know about the history of the sport. Mike Tyson was so polarizing, everybody knew about it. That's a given. That's a fact. Mike Tyson knew about it. Everybody knows about it. Ali, everybody knows about it. George Foreman, everybody knows about it. Even Jeff Teague and them on was it 520? Their show, their podcast, they knew about it. Now, granted, in comparison to them saying Joe Frazier, Mike Tyson, who's the stronger puncher? Behan was saying that it's Mike Tyson. He'd rather take a punch from Mike than George Foreman. And let me tell you, he'd rather take a punch from George Foreman than Mike Tyson. He's absolutely ridiculous, and he's going to die. I mean, he would have got knocked out either way. But in terms of severity of damage, no. And that's because Behan and Jeff Teague and them, they know the names, but they don't know the weight. They don't understand the full story behind why they're called what they're called. Behind why their name is what it is in the pantheon of boxing. And this is for anybody in sports in general. That happens in boxing a lot more than you think. It happens a lot more than you think. There's a lot of stuff that boxers, just because it's not getting it taught, and because, let's be honest, in the States, since boxing wasn't that big for a number of years, it turned into the history of the sport, didn't get taught nearly as much. People know Joe Frazier for fighting Ali, without question, as they should. They don't understand this brother was also an Olympian. Now, this brother had the greatest left hook in boxing history. Now, this man is one of the 10 greatest knockout artists that the boxing world has ever seen. But they don't look at the deeper meaning, the head movement, the ability, what made him great. They don't look at that. They only know the biggest billboard thing. But in history, it used to be you could know the big thing and the ins and outs of it. It's like Jordan. Everybody knows Jordan because he won 6 rings. Well, he also averaged 37 at one point in his career. He was also one of the greatest high-flying acts that we had seen in basketball history. He was somebody that I'm just using Michael Jordan as a name because the other attributes of what MJ did outside of the 6 rings and the turnaround, that's what everybody knows for. But the other aspects of the ins and outs, some people may not know as much as that, but they still reverence the name. But teaching the intricacies used to be a lot more widespread. But now, it's not that much because in the boxing world, it kind of fell apart. But for real, you'd be surprised how many people don't know these types of names. You would be very surprised. Let me see. I believe Inoue is in his prime, and him rejuvenating himself is a very smart thing. He's even back to training to keep his sharpness and learning. And we can actually touch on that real quick because we actually get ready to transition into that aspect of conversation with Inoue and the question of being in his prime or not. We're about to address that right now. Let me just get into these last couple chats before we move on. And going into the world of the rest of the boxing conversation, let me see, Gabby, as long as she keeps doing what she's doing while moving up, could be an all-time great. Yes, she can. If you talk about Gabrielle Fondora, yes, she can, without a doubt. She seems to be on her weight bully stuff for the time being. Though, I mean, granted, it's like she started out here and she's able to make weight. I don't know if it's weight bully, because we're going to find out when she moves up how the competition is going to go. But at this point in time, it don't look like she really ducking any competition. And so don't be surprised if very quickly she's going to move up again. And it's going to go from weight bully to just she's a bully because she's just that good. I think give it a year. Give it a year. And we're going to have that weight bully conversation be put to the test on whether or not it was just because she is so much bigger than the rest of her division, or when she gets to a bigger division, she's still able to dominate if it was just she's just that good. I think she is just that good. But again, give it a year. Give it a year because I think she's going to move up. If she moves quick, she might move up twice, depending on how dominant she can be. And I think there's a good argument she might win Fighter of the Year for women next year, like she did this year, over Clarissa Shields. And if she does that again, twice in a row, I don't know what that conversation can be. He's just a weight bully. I think it might be she just like that. She just like, let me see. I believe that Ali happened right after I believe that all happened right after her brother died. I feel like I'm missing something in the conversation. Let me see. Do you think Gabby Fondora will surpass Clarissa Shields as the most dominant female boxer? Whoo! I mean, it's between dominant, it's Layla Ali, Clarissa Shields. If you want to put Katie Taylor in there, so be it. Understandable. Dominance. She would have to do. She's on the right track to get to the same marker. But what she would have to do is still a whole bunch, because we're talking about, again, Clarissa Shields, who's been able to heavyweight, light heavyweight, and in every single division, it hasn't been close that she's been the best. Gabrielle Fundora can move up potentially, have that same level of dominance. It's just going to need to be that same path. It's going to have to be that same path of just putting people to sleep, and you just, like, you can't touch her. Clarissa Shields has gotten to a point where nobody in any division, in any weight class, can actually touch her, because she's actively beating everybody in every weight class. Heavyweight on down and on up. So I'm just, if Gabrielle gets there, we got a conversation. If not, though, yeah, no, that's not a knock against her. But she's competing with Layla Ali and Clarissa Shields as the most dominant physical forces in the world of female boxing that we've ever seen. It's going to be tough. She can do it. Don't get me wrong, she can do it. It's just going to be, it's going to take a lot for her. It's going to take a lot. That's including being able to be on par with the likes of Amanda Serrano, who, yes, she lost to Katie Taylor, but she's been one of the other greatest female boxers we've ever seen. So she's got to get above her. There's some rungs to the ladder, but she has the potential. I have no doubt about that, in my opinion. I think she can do it. Let me see. If Tio wins tomorrow night, what's next for him? If Tio wins tomorrow, he then goes after the winner of Ryan and or Devin Haney. Excuse me. He goes after the winner of either Ryan Garcia versus Conor Benn, or he goes after the winner of Devin Haney in his next fight, or just straight up fights Devin Haney outright. Because those are the two biggest names he could get that hold the belt. And Tio still wants to go after titles. Unless he just wants to go and take some other fights at 147, fight Brian Norman Jr. if he beats the likes of Rolly. Maybe. But even then, would he want to waste, I'm not going to say waste time. Would he want to risk losing his belt when there is now a clear-cut three-way race for Undisputed? And he does value Undisputed. He could go after it. I think he's going to try to get Devin Haney or Ryan, one of the two after this fight. Most likely, I would assume, if he makes an effort, he goes after Devin. Because Devin would most likely be the most willing to take that fight to get another belt around his waist, because it's Devin Haney. That's what I could see happening. Most likely, I would assume Devin Haney becomes the forefront of Tio's mind in conversation. And then Ryan Garcia, if he can get Ryan Garcia, depending on if Ryan Garcia wins against Conor Benn, which we have to wait and see until September. But that's what I would think would happen. Let me see. Tio will probably fight Ryan if he wins. I think he's going after Haney. I think he goes after Haney first. I do. It's crazy to think about. I think he goes after Haney, or tries to get Devin Haney to fight him first, if he can, before fighting Ryan Garcia. Would Ryan Garcia be the potential quote-unquote easier fight? Who knows? Stylistically, maybe it works out great for him. I just know a willing participant without any of the drama would be Devin Haney, guaranteed, if you come to the table. So I think so. Let me see. Tio beats Rolly, in my opinion, just going off of their sparring footage. Tio's gotten better. Or rather, Rolly's gotten better since then. Tio's still a better fighter, and I do think he still will be able to beat Rolly. But just know, Rolly is not the same Rolly that we've discussed in the past, which I've had to give credit to, because normally I'm saying this brother ain't all that. Now, he is worth that. He is like that, at least in some type of fashion. And let me see, you say Tio may look spectacular? I mean, if he does, look for him to try to look like that, because he's trying to bounce back from the loss to Shakur. He's got to get his reputation back in the good graces of the boxing public. He needs to make a statement that has everybody looking his way and saying, oh, wow, that fight with Shakur was just because Shakur's that good. Tio is still elite, like we thought. He's going to look to make a big time statement if he can. But let me keep on reading your thoughts and opinions on the matter so I can make sure I touch on everybody that we can. T.O. versus Keyshawn. I'm going to say that fight doesn't happen. I'm going to say that fight doesn't happen. I'm going to say it doesn't happen.
We got some problems here.
Teofimo Lopez versus Keyshawn Davis. As much as that fight may seem like an entertaining affair, I don't think that fight happens. And it's because at this point in time, I believe Keyshawn Davis has a fight that he is actively trying to make take place. Yeah, you're right. Per Boxing Scene, and actually per the ring. No, not per the ring. Excuse me. Per Boxing Scene, we now got confirmation, or at least a looking like confirmation, that on the undercard of Anthony Joshua and Fury that's happening later on this year, he is looking to get on that card and fight, and it would be against, as it loads up here, it would be against Jack Catterall. And if he beats Jack Catterall, at least based on this information, if Keyshawn Davis beats Jack Catterall on the undercard of Fury versus AJ, it would make him a mandatory again for Rolly versus Tio, whoever wins that fight. Now, at that point in time, it would be able to be happening. But again, we've seen him in a mandatory position before, and he backed away for no good reason. Now, he's fighting Jack Catterall. Will he make some money? Sure. Would it be as much of an opportunity as it was against Devin Haney? No. Without question, it would not be. He still lost out because of his own stupidity not taking the fight. That's a guarantee. That's a guarantee. There's no debating that. But this would put him in position to get the fight for a title, at least against somebody. But this is where one bad apple spoils the bunch. In this situation, it's a bad apple that nobody wants to touch with Keyshawn Davis, with the TOs and others of the world still looking to, we can get something guaranteed with us. Do we dare trust our notion to give this kid an opportunity when the last time he did, and last time he was in an opportunity to get something to shake, he made everybody stall out what they could have done for this year because they were all waiting to see if you were going to get that fight or not. You wasted Devin Haney's time. You wasted the rest of the boxing public's time. You robbed a mandatory spot from somebody else when you got moved up into mandatory opportunities. And we don't want to play that game again. There could be a situation where we just say, yeah, we will start negotiations with somebody else immediately just to make sure we don't get this shot again. Could be, again, sounds like a ludicrous sentiment, but just know it's not, because his reputation still got to be earned back. Would they even trust him with the mandatory spot again? I'm not sure, even if he beats Jack Catterall. I'm just telling you, that's what's looking like right now. Would I want to see it? Sure. Would we get it? I'm not sure. Because it's Keyshawn. I have no faith in Keyshawn right now. No matter what position he may get himself into. I have no faith. Justifiably so. Justifiably so. I ain't got no faith in him at this point in time. But let me see. I can see T.O. fighting Keyshawn if he gets that WBO belt from Catterall. But now, again, it would be. Well, hold on. Wait a minute. Wait a second. Would that be for the mandatory, or would that be for the actual title? Let me see the current working champions at this division, so I can make sure he wouldn't be taking I don't think he would be taking a belt from Catterall, unless I'm misreading the situation and Catterall is actually a champion. Devin Haney, Liam Parr, Ryan Garcia, Rolly. Excuse me? Well, hold on. Okay, so Jack's got the World Welterweight Championship. Voley has the Super World Welterweight Championship. By that metric of language, Voley is the full-blown champion. Jack Catterall is more like the number one contender for the super version of the belt, which is the real, big, meaningful version of the belt, based on how we know boxing works with interim champions, world champions, and then super world champions. So Jack wouldn't be the reigning champion in the division. Jack would simply be the vehicle for number one contender. I get next at Rolly's belt or T.O.'s belt because that's the biggest belt that holds all the weight at this point in time, just to make sure we have the language correct so people understand what exactly they're looking at or why this fight is meaningful. So Jack isn't the full-blown champion. He is a world champion, but he's not the super champion. Because he's not the super champion, he's not recognized as the champion or one of the 4 belt holders in this division with Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, and Rolly Romero at this point in time. Still be a good win. Still could work out fine. I'm just telling you, that's the position at this point in time. But either way, I could see it. I just, it could go either way. But let me see. Beach Skull, Devin doesn't have 2 belts. I thought Devin did. WBO and the Ring Magazine, that is Devin Haney. Ryan Garcia's WBC. Rolly Romero's the WBA. And Devin's not. IBF. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. You're right. Thank you for that heads up. I appreciate that. That's why we have you all here. In fact, I'll share my screen so you can see exactly what I'm looking at. It is Devin Haney has the ring and Devin Haney has the WBO, but it is not him that holds all or 2 of the major belts as a whole. It is Liam Paro that holds that other IBF champion at his disposal. It's Liam Paro, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, and Rolly Romero as the 4 super belt holders in this division, or the 4 main guys that run the world. That is what it's at right now. The rest, like Liam Paro and others, they're world champions, but they're not super champions. And super is the one that signifies the one that holds the weight, per se, in the framework of the Boxing Globe as we talk through it. So thank you for that catch to make sure I'm on the right track. I do appreciate it. But even still, let's actually go back to a topic that let's at least try to transition into the topic that I said we would discuss earlier in this show that's on the docket of conversation, Inoue, if we can. Because we want to make sure we still hold true to what we said. Now we're into the bigger, or one of the other big meat and potato conversations, with involving everybody being a champion, involving everybody being a world contender, involving all this stuff, involving all the other weight classes, the confusion that may abound, and the abundance of hearsay that we've heard from countless other iterations of people getting a fight, not getting a fight. Now we can look at the one man who's been the constant in this division. That's Inoue, and that's him being in